is the CBS Evening News. Dan Ratto reporting tonight from Washington. Good evening. President Reagan was interviewed late today by television network correspondents. He defended his arms deal with Mikhail Gorbachev against charges that he was conned into a bad deal. He appeared to defend Gorbachev some about Afghanistan and Soviet Jews. He again called the Soviet Union an evil empire. For all of Mr. Reagan's talk, almost half the people in the latest CBS News New York Times poll out tonight say they fear Mr. Reagan may compromise too much to get an arms deal with Gorbachev, and almost half the people in our poll fear Mr. Reagan will fail to achieve real arms control. Some of the strongest opposition to the arms deal is still coming from Mr. Reagan's own party. Of all 6 Republicans running officially for president, only George Bush has fully backed the treaty. In today's Oval Office session with 4 network correspondents, including this one, Mr. Reagan was asked about that.
What you said about George. I think that the objections that we're hearing, and yes, from some of our own, you might say, allies and own forces, they're based on a lack of knowledge as to what this treaty contains, and particularly are they ignorant of the advances that have been made in verification. No treaty before has ever been based on as much verification and on-site inspection and so forth as this one.
Mr. President, we have a new CBS News New York Times poll out tonight, and it indicates that the majority of those polled, 45%, largest number, are convinced that you'll make too many compromises to Gorbachev. Now, the question is, what assurances can you give? How can you convince Americans that you have the command of the kind of complex information that's necessary here, not to have this young, energetic, intelligent, tough Marxist-Leninists eat you and us up?
Well, I haven't changed from the time when I made a speech about an evil empire. And I think I could sum up my own position in this with the recitation of a very brief Russian proverb. Doverяй, no proverяй. It means trust, but verify. And there would be no way that I could sign a treaty just to be signing a treaty and with my fingers crossed that everything was all right. This is why it is hinged on arriving at solid verification measures and their agreement to them.
Mr. Gorbachev's favorable rating in this country is only 4% lower than your own. He's made a strong impression. The other day when you were asked about difficulties with him, you turned it aside with something of a joke. Can you give us a more serious assessment now of Mr. Gorbachev and how tough he is to do business with?
In polls, I have to say, you have to know what questions are asked and how they're being asked. Because our Dr. Worthlin, that I think is finally the finest and on the record pollster in the nation, has just more recently taken a poll, and he found that 56% of the people in America support the treaty.
Mr. President, do you suspect that Gorbachev thinks he can do a snow job on the American people?
I have no way of knowing that. I have to say this in favor of him on this thing, that I have felt that have been born and raised within the Soviet framework. I have felt that he sincerely believes in that philosophy, and also believes a lot of the propaganda about the Western world and about our country.
Would you assess for me your personal opinion of his truthfulness when he talked about Afghanistan and the extent and causes of anti-Semitism in the Soviet Union?
Well, as I say, I have to believe that he believes their own propaganda. He grew up with us in hearing this.
You believe that he believes that he has 115,000 troops in Afghanistan committing genocide almost daily simply because they were invited in there?
Well, you must remember that there were other leaders under which this happened. He inherited that. And those leaders are the ones who had created the puppet government. Now, whether he knows that To what extent they did that or not, I don't know. But I'm quite sure, on the other hand, that he feels comfortable with the idea that if they left Afghanistan, that there would be a government similar to the Eastern Bloc nations in Afghanistan, not necessarily a government that was chosen by the people of Afghanistan. Well, on our side, our job is to make him see that not only must their troops leave Afghanistan, but that the people of Afghanistan, just as the people of Nicaragua, must have the right to determine the government.
Under the White House ground rules, the session this afternoon with President Reagan lasted just over half an hour. CBS News will broadcast the entire interview with President Reagan at 11:30 tonight, 10:30 Central Time. The trouble President Reagan is in over his arms treaty is evident in the fact that in attacking treaty critics today, he was attacking fellow Republicans, including Republicans running for president. CBS News chief Washington correspondent Bob Schieffer is tracking how the Summit of '87 is turning the party lines for Campaign '88 upside down.
Even at the home of the B-1 bomber where he donned flight gear, George Bush has been pushing the treaty.
Because I'm absolutely convinced I'm right.
With a historic agreement in the offing, you'd expect all the candidates in the president's party to be flying high about arms control, right? Well, not exactly.
And I think premature cheerleading can only give the Soviets a mistaken idea that they might be able to wring out some last-minute concession.
That's just a part of the topsy-turvy politics developing over this treaty. All the Democratic candidates love it and are delighted to point out that all of the Republican candidates, save the loyal vice president, are against it.
I think it's appalling that 5 of the 6 Republican candidates for president do not support their own president on this treaty.
Appalling or not, it has produced a battle royal between Republican frontrunners Bush and Dole, the latest Bush to Dole rocket.
In my view, the president, after 7 years of hard work and hanging tough, is now entitled to the vigorous support of the leadership of his own party in the United States Senate.
To the Bush people, that's good politics as well as policy. The new CBS News New York Times poll shows that Americans by a margin of 2-1 do like the treaty. Even so, challenger Dole is cautious.
If there's a red flag that ought to be waved, the American people ought to know.
On that much, Dole does reflect popular opinion. While Americans do want the treaty, they are uneasy about it. Almost half the people we polled said it would not lead to real arms control. And many people are worried that in the end, the Soviets will have the best of it.
Gorbachev is the most clever Soviet leader since Lenin.
Fear that the Soviets could get the upper hand is a card second-tier Republican candidates are playing hard, a tactic Democrats say will backfire.
This is an instance where the Republicans are playing to their right wing, and it's going to cost them in the long run.
So that's how it is that Bob Dole found himself next to the president yesterday saying what Ronald Reagan used to say about arms control, go slow. And how George Bush found himself flying in formation with the Democrats who are saying what Republicans used to say, support our president. Bob Schieffer, CBS News, Washington.
And still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, high hopes for an end to the 11-day Atlanta prison revolt now. A look inside Afghanistan where U.S. Stinger missiles may have changed the course of the war. And a Kansas village where the cattle auction is no longer the best show in town.
New oatmeal.
Total oatmeal.
I'll stick with old-fashioned Quaker oats. 100% of the daily allowance of vitamin C.
Been getting that all along.
No, you haven't. 100% of A.
Been getting that all along.
No, you haven't. 100% of 9 vitamins and iron.
Been getting
No, you haven't.
Total oatmeal has 10 times the vitamin nutrition of old-fashioned Quaker oats.
See, what you thought was in here isn't in here. It's really over here.
Total oatmeal, the vitamin nutrition you thought you were getting all along.
The Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade, or your money back. The first screen shaves incredibly close, the second even closer. The Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade, or your money back.
And the Lady Remington rechargeable, the perfect gift.
New Caffrey toothpaste decaffeinates your smile.
Coffee and tea can stain your smile, like they stain your cup.
Caffrey decaffeinates your smile. Coffee and tea stains can be a problem for more people than tobacco stains.
And who needs that?
New Caffrey toothpaste with fluoride has 3 separate ingredients to get out coffee and tea stains better than the leading toothpaste.
I'm not about to give up tea.
And I won't give up coffee.
Then try new Caffrey toothpaste. Caffrey decaffeinates your smile every day. Toothpaste or gel.
Where does it hurt?
Here.
For indigestion, heartburn, and gas, nobody does as much as Malox Plus. Dose for dose, it neutralizes more than any regular strength antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as Malox Plus.
The end may be at hand for the 11-day-old crisis at the Atlanta prison, where Cuban inmates are still holding 89 hostages. It has been a time of terror since November 23rd, when the prisoners, fearing their forced return to Cuba, rioted, set fire to buildings, and seized the hostages. The standoff is not over, at least not yet, but Bill Whitaker reports this day did bring a dramatic turn.
Late this afternoon, Cuban inmates on the roof of the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary indicated a breakthrough had been reached.
All of the negotiators for the detainees initialed a document indicating their agreement on all points of a settlement that would bring a conclusion to this incident.
Ballots were distributed to the inmates, and within minutes, some of those on the roof were signaling to friends and family across the street the accord had been approved.
I think this is it. That's the Cuban national anthem. I don't want to cry here now, but I'm happy. I'm happy because there are so many families, you know, the Cubans and the American ones that have been suffering for so many days, that really this is America. We made it again.
No details of the agreement have been released, but families of the hostages were overjoyed.
I'm just so happy. I'm just elated.
Inmates' families danced in the streets.
Well, to me, I feel good because I know something good is going to come out. That's what I feel.
Miami Bishop Augustin Roman, who helped bring an end to the Oakdale takeover Sunday, called for the immediate release of the hostages.
I will ask my brothers to give me all the hostages.
Tonight, tomorrow?
Maybe tonight and maybe tomorrow.
This agreement supersedes the one reached at Oakdale. Attorney General Edwin Meese has okayed the deal. This agreement comes on the eve of the Cuban Feast of Santa Barbara, the patron saint of captives. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Atlanta.
Correspondent Peter Van Sant is on the scene at the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. Peter, what's going on at the moment?
Dan, the big question right now is, when is the formal agreement going to be signed? Cuban inmates standing on top of one of the prison buildings shouted out the names of 6 people that they want at the formal signing. One of those names is Bishop Roman, who is flying from Miami to Atlanta but isn't expected at the prison until about 10 o'clock tonight. So the feeling is that we will not be getting any hostages out at least until later tonight, possibly tomorrow morning. Justice Department officials want to get those hostages out as quickly as possible because the vote to approve this agreement was not unanimous among the inmates. There are still radicals inside, and there is concern that those radicals might try to upset the cart somehow and try to wreck this agreement. So the hope is they can get this thing signed soon and get those hostages out.
Thank you, Peter. Peter Van Sant at the Atlanta prison. Footnote to the Reagan interview. At one point, President Reagan blamed what he called a sudden surge of interest rate cuts by trading partners for weakening the U.S. dollar. And that was just hours after his own Treasury Secretary praised the move by European banks. Tonight, White House spokesman Marlin Fitzwater rolled that back and said President Reagan simply got it wrong, that Mr. Reagan should have said the dollars rise and meant to say rise. Fitzwater gave no further explanation. Britain and West Germany led a new round of interest rate cuts by European central banks today, and that helped the U.S. dollar bounce back in trading against European currencies. Any hope those rate cuts would immediately rally Wall Street collapsed during the day. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plunged more than 70 points to close to its lowest level since the Black Monday crash.
The stars are gonna twinkle and shine. How they'll shine this evening about 8:45. I know I won't be late. Oh, that 8:30. I'm gonna hurry there. I'll be waiting where
They say time is what you make it. At Citizen, we prefer making it beautiful.
about 8:45.
Citizen.
Heartburn again?
Yeah.
Take some Riopan Plus 2. It's double strength.
I hope it works fast.
In lab tests, it starts neutralizing acid in 10 seconds.
You look better.
You want to go out for a banana split?
Kidding.
Riopan Plus 2, the fast antacid.
A grown man should not get a terrible headache from putting a toy together. I used to take aspirin or Tylenol, but today I take Advil. Advil gets rid of my headaches, and it's gentler to my stomach than aspirin. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
It's a pathway that leads from here to tomorrow, from sea to shining sea. The great American road belongs to Buick. Whoa, it's a feeling of smoothness, of power and grace. The road up ahead in command. Yeah, the great American road belongs to Buick.
Among those gathered here in Washington for the summit are people with no official status. They see themselves and their families as victims of Soviet repression, and they have come to make their presence felt. President Reagan went to some lengths today to assure them that they will be sitting next to him, as he put it, as unseen guests at the summit. Wyatt Andrews reports.
The hard line issue today from President Reagan, Soviet human rights violations, and a promise that he will not forget human rights in the rush to pursue arms control. His audience, the American relatives of Soviet citizens, denied the right to leave the Soviet Union.
We see the violation of anyone's human rights, acts of repression or brutality, as attacks on civilization itself.
These promises and human rights protests have now become a ritual of summits. In both Reykjavik and Geneva, divided families and Jewish refuseniks have forced themselves onto the pre-summit agenda. Now in Washington, it's no different.
I can't express our gratitude. This is our only hope.
Anna Charney's father, Benjamin, is in the Soviet Union, dying of thyroid cancer, but cannot leave for Western medical care because he worked on the Soviet space program in the late 60s. The Soviets say he has state secrets. Charney says what he has is a death sentence.
The fact that they wait till the situation, my situation, becomes quite desperate, means that that's actually a very slow matter.
The Soviets have signaled they will answer President Reagan's hard line. Propagandists this week held to Gorbachev's new charge that the immigration problem is an American attempt to brain drain the Soviets of talent.
I don't think it's a secret how this brain drain is organized, how channels are in fact used to facilitate this work.
Now give Daddy a kiss.
The irony this year is that Jewish immigration has dramatically increased. Family reunions are on the rise.
She's going to be joined with her husband, Victor Feuermark.
And true to form, in another pre-summit ritual, the Soviets agreed today to release another handful of emigres, leaving a few grateful senators to announce the news, and the impression the problem is being solved.
Please do not believe Mr. Gorbachev when he says things that are definitely not true, and we are witnesses to that.
By now, this is all a predictable pre-summit process. Joyful reunions one day, bitter rejections the next. And no fundamental change on the Soviet side that would make international travel normal, and both of these emotional scenes unnecessary. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, Washington.
So-called regional conflicts are the other main item on the summit agenda. Both sides are hurting in their own backyards, the United States in Central America and the Soviets in Afghanistan.
To see how Cardinal Miguel Obando y Bravo, the mediator in the talks, can bring them together. He'll have to relay offers from the
peace, and U.S.-backed Muslim rebels are bringing the war downtown.
The look of reconciliation in Afghanistan. Government troops under attack by Mujahideen rebels in Kandahar province near the Pakistani border. The Kabul regime has just proclaimed a new constitution it says can end the war. It isn't working. The war reaches to the heart of Kabul. This firefight took place just a few hundred yards from where that new constitution was being adopted. 11 people died. Mikhail Gorbachev has called Afghanistan a bleeding wound and wants out. So under pressure from Moscow and using some traditional means, the Afghan regime has been pushing its so-called National Reconciliation Program. Party leader Najibullah this week called a Loya Jirga, a grand assembly of loyal tribal and religious leaders to endorse some limited political reforms. But he also declared massive new powers for the president, who happens to be Najibullah. The leader of the Afghan regime has turned into a very difficult ally for the Soviets, headstrong and determined to hold power, yet politically weak and very expensive. A Soviet withdrawal, Najibullah now says, can take place in a 12-month period once the Mujahideen stop fighting and the United States stop supporting them. In fact, Soviet and Afghan troops have come under increasing fire. The rebels have made devastating use of the U.S.-made Stinger missile. Soviet supply planes now drop flares as they approach the capital from a great height, spiraling down for a landing like falling leaves. Helicopters fly interference to deflect the heat-seeking missiles. The Stingers have changed the course of this war. This pilot says his buddy was killed by one of the missiles. Stinger has become a new word for fear in Afghanistan. Soviet helicopter gunships now hug the ground around Kabul instead of attacking rebel positions in the countryside. Soviet bombers fly their missions at less effective high altitudes. On land, the Russians now keep to the roads in huge convoys trying to minimize casualties. But they still must bear the brunt of the fighting, unable to rely on Najibullah's beleaguered Afghan army. If Mikhail Gorbachev wants out, so do his soldiers. They sing about the Black Tulip, the plane that takes the bodies home. In the Black Tulip, the words go, "We have our last mission for the motherland. We're only 20 years old, and our graves are being dug for us." Mark Phillips, CBS News, Kabul.
Delegations from the Nicaraguan government and the Contra rebels arrived in the Dominican Republic today for their first ever peace talks. The Sandinistas insist they will refuse to meet the Contras face-to-face, so the Archbishop of Managua is acting as a go-between. The military government of Haiti is denying a newspaper report today that some 46 people were slaughtered in a military prison following last Sunday's aborted election. The San Francisco Examiner based its story on an interview with a woman who said that she was among dozens of people rounded up and jailed accused of causing problems during the election violence. The woman said that soldiers then shot and bayoneted nearly all of the prisoners and threw their bodies in a ditch.
Around here, life hasn't changed much. Pure, fresh, uncomplicated. Fresh-picked fruit is a favorite. So is Smucker's Simply Fruit. Introducing a new fruit spread that's simply fruit. Purity you can taste. No sugar added. Around here, we like things simple. Smucker's Simply Fruit.
To stack up the Totals vitamin nutrition, it takes almost 3 bowls of Special K.
I'll have shredded wheat.
12 bowls.
Separate checks, please.
Total has 100% of 9 vitamins and iron and is rich in calcium. That's a stack of nutrition.
In just one bowl.
If you're concerned about heart disease and your doctor advises exercise, the right foods, and an aspirin a day, you should know that heart specialists recommend
Ecotrin more than Bayer when they're concerned about aspirin irritation because it's safety coated. Ecotrin, the one heart specialists recommend.
Anybody who really cares about Christmas
Snacks, sir?
Just some milk and the cookies will be at America's biggest Christmas sale at Sears. A sale so big it starts Friday night at 6. So big everything at Sears is on sale. All 10 to 50% off. All toys, all apparel, all furniture, all tools, all appliances and electronics. All of which makes the trip well worth it.
Would you like those gift wrapped?
I think I can handle that. America's biggest Christmas sale starts Friday night at 6.
Here's the plot line. 11 young theater professionals, many of whom met at Harvard, will stage plays in small-town America where there is no theater. They will use local talent as actors, costume makers, and set designers. The playwright may be Shakespeare, Moliere, or Noel Coward. In other words, a challenge. Now, does that sound like an old movie? Well, then join Frank Courier for a preview of Opening Night on the Prairie.
As winter dawn draws long shadows on the northwest Kansas prairie, for most of the 200 neighbors in a remote village called Norcatur, a cattle auction used to be the only show in town. The only show, that is, till a van load of young and eager East Coast actors rolled into town during the fall harvest.
Do you think you're going to audition for the play?
At a pancake social, players from the Cornerstone Theater Company announced plans to stage a first-ever live theater production in Norcatur's high school gym, using local talent fresh off the farm.
For a small town like this, once in a lifetime chance, really.
Word spread fast down Main Street to the Cardinal Cafe, where the idea seemed at first far-fetched.
You're Howard?
Right.
I'm Susan.
You're Susan, right?
I've been told you like to act.
Well, you've been told wrong.
We wanted to go out and do plays for people who didn't already have preconceived notions of what good theater is.
Mayor Bill Nelson, whose winter chores include patching potholes, auditioned for roles in the play Tartuffe, a 5-act comedy.
Forgive him, brother. Set your mind at peace.
I can't endure these scenes. They've got to cease.
You'll hear from us again.
Our government, to whom all wrong is hateful.
They both landed parts, but the biggest role went to the biggest man, Ron Temple, a 6'9" cattle rancher.
This acting's a lot like sex, you know. Everybody knows a little bit about it, but it's a technique that counts.
This evening's opening night will see the Norcatur players taking some liberties with the language of an old French farce, translating life from 17th century Paris to the modern-day Kansas prairie.
Moliere, the author of the play, would turn over in his grave if he saw what they'd done to it.
Dorothy Kelly, who's 81 and runs a corner junk store, plays an angry old matriarch.
All up and down Decatur Avenue. They're upset, you know, because these pickup trucks just come and go.
It's nearly showtime.
Places for the top of the show.
In a town where no one would have dreamed Tartuffe could transform cattle country into Barnyard Broadway. Frank Courier, CBS News, Norcatur, Kansas.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. Until our special broadcast of President Reagan's interview tonight at 11:30, 10:30 Central Time, Dan Rather reporting tonight from Washington. See you later.
Mom, I have an itchy cough. I don't feel good. I have cough too. Fix it.
Every day, mothers are called on to be doctors.
Honey.
And through the years, more mothers have relied on Robitussin than any other cough medicine because more doctors and pharmacists have recommended it.
Mom, when's dinner?
Robitussin, recommended by Dr. Mom. Which Robitussin is right for you? Ask your doctor or pharmacist.
For Vanish Drop-Ins, the Ball Brothers.
I pop in Vanish Drop-Ins and look so clean. So drop in Vanish Drop-Ins.
Vanish drop-ins are here. Just drop one in the tank to help keep your bowl looking clean and smelling fresh for weeks. And since drop-ins dissolve completely, you never touch them again. What could be easier?
So drop in Vanish Drop-Ins.
And when you brush, try Dual Action Liquid Vanish. It freshens the bathroom and it outcleans Lysol on tough fuss stains below the waterline. Liquid Vanish makes your toilet sing.
I doubted my protection no matter what I tried. See, I have a bladder control problem. But now, I found the undergarment that protects best. No doubt about it.
Attends for bladder control problems. It protects better because it's designed to keep its highly absorbent layers close to your body with gathers. Undergarments without them can gap and cause accidents.
I could do this all day. No doubt about it.
Try the best protecting undergarment. Attends for protection you can live with.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Sullivan.
And I'm Harry Smith.
For information, engaging conversation, and much more.
Join us for CBS This Morning tomorrow.
This is CBS.